Now, as the world grapples with echoes of past economic turmoil, the Intergovernmental Group of 24, G24, which represents the voice of the Global South, is preparing to convene next week in Nigeria. Founded over 50 years ago amid crisis in international finance, trade and tariffs that has battered developing nations, the G24 unites 29 member economies positioned to negotiate with advanced powers on critical financial issues. Briefing journalists on Saturday in Abuja, the director of the G24, Dr. Iyabo Marshall, disclosed that the key mandates for this year's summit are to push for fairer exchange rates policies in dollar-dominated world, to secure a better development financing from institutions like IMF and World Bank, to tackle international tax cooperation, to curb illicit financial flows, and to ensure corporations pay their fair share.
Is the most efficient one that leads to the least macroeconomic destabilization. Debt, of course, we've seen how countries go through debt crisis and how it destroys their economy. And we've seen how even some other source of financing can be very, very limiting for a government. So that is the way in which we look at it. And for that reason, we encourage our member countries to mobilize domestic resources efficiently. Now, one thing you will see in the data set is that the developing countries have the lowest rate of tax mobilization. In some cases, as low as 7% of GDP, when some advanced countries, even other developing countries, are mobilizing 25, 30% of GDP. What we know from the experience of countries is that the countries that are able to provide all these services, education, health, infrastructure, peace and stability, those countries tend to have tax to GDP ratio in the 20s.
Dr. Marshall further stressed that this technical group meeting, which is rotated among chairs of past hosts, include the Philippines in Manila and Argentina in Buenos Aires, draws around 45 delegates, including Nigerian agency reps for strategic planning ahead of spring IMF World Bank sessions.
That the Africa Continental Free Trade Arrangement would be a more effective organization for advancing Africa trade. Now, because ECOWAS is a political union, its focus on trade is minimal. But Africa, the AFCA, they are getting involved in the nitty-gritty. They are looking at all the rules of trade in different countries, trying to identify the barriers to trade, and then creating the opportunity for member countries to implement it. And if you look at some of the things going on about exchange of financial value through cross-border trade and cross-border currencies, all of those are going on. AFCA is late on the game, but it's going to make a lot of difference from what we can see. Now, I take your point that there's political fragmentation in West Africa, but it shouldn't really stop economic cooperation.
Observers from UN agencies, ILO and OPEC funds, the event spotlights Nigeria's leadership in amplifying Global South priorities amid today's financial headwinds.